militia in this area were normally mounted militia. They're on their horse, they went to the fight, they dismounted. Younger people like Andrew Jackson and others would often sit there, hold the horses while the fight was conducted. If they won, they'd plunder the other guy's camp. If they lost, they'd come back, get on their horses right away, and come back to fight another day. As mounted militia, carried the fire. What are your firelocks? As mounted militia, they brought what they had. Whether it was a hunting rifle, as in a rifle gun, whether it was a French Traville, or whether it was a captured British brown vest. Whatever it was that you had, it was a firelock, you brought it. If you brought a firelock that had a bayonet, you were good to go. If you had a firelock that did not have a bayonet, like a rifle, you were supposed to have a hatchet, big honking knife. Something to defend yourself with at range. And as an officer or dragoon, you have a saber. Dragoons did not dismount normally. You fight from a horse. Let the horse do the battle. You ride them down, slash them on the way by. Talk about the individual weapons. Mr. Carter, we talk about the French assistance that was issued to us.
During the war, the French sent us several 100,000 Charleville muskets. And since I was recently in the 3rd Regiment, I still have my musket, my French musket, and my bayonet. Now this was a 69 caliber weapon. I could fire about 3 shots a minute. I was accurate out to about 80 yards. Now I could hit somebody at 100, but it might be the guy next to the guy I was aiming at. The reason is because it's smooth bore, and therefore the ball doesn't spin and stabilize itself. So however it comes out the barrel, it's a 69 caliber, but the ball was only 62 caliber, because after you shoot this thing a few times, it starts crudding up, and in order to load it, you needed a smaller ball. So the first few shots, the ball coming out might hit the bottom of the barrel, or the top, or one of the sides, and that would make the bullet go someplace else. But at 80 yards, I could be pretty certain of at least hitting the guy that I was aiming at. It's a flintlock. All the weapons back then were flintlocks. It's based on a principle of a piece of flint and a piece of steel here. And if you put some powder in this pan, there's a hole in the side of the barrel. And when you put your charge in, if you can ignite the powder, that's how it's fired. And that's done by putting some powder in here, closing the steel, putting it on full cock, and if you may be able to see the spark. I'll give it a try. Yeah. See the spark? One spark's all you need, and off she goes. And so I could fire, like I say, about 3 shots a minute with it. Not terribly accurate, but with, particularly with a military regiment, with 100 guys in line, you're putting a lot of lead down in front of you. The idea was to get close enough to be able to use the bayonet. This is actually considered the principal weapon. And militia were hoped that the militia could bring muskets and bayonets. Often they just brought what they had at home, their rifles, their shotguns, whatever it was they had. But the big thing was to be able to get close to the enemy with the bayonet. And this allowed you fire a couple of shots. There's a lot of smoke out in front of you. Often you couldn't even see the enemy after a couple of rounds because both sides putting so much smoke out. You'll see the smoke in a minute. And that's where the fog of war comes from, by the way. You hear them talk about the fog of war. Anyway, the idea was to get close enough to use the bayonet. And this was a particularly deadly weapon. It creates a triangular shaped hole that's hard to heal. And you'll notice there are little grooves in the side of the bayonet. As your heart pumps blood, and you've got blood pressure, and that pressure grabs hold of the bayonet. And so those grooves give the blood a place to go for a second. so that after you stick, you still get it back out before the blood pressure closes down. A little aside there. Like I say, there were several 100,000 of these shipped here by the French, and so that's why you see so many of these French Charlevilles. But we also had brown besses that were captured from the British, and the British, when they captured these from us, armed their loyalist troops with them. So you got both sides using the same weapons, but different calibers.
Like Kip was saying, one of the other weapons that they would use would be a rifle. For the folks that lived in the backcountry or whatever, they'd use these normally for hunting. It's looks similar. It's got the same kind of lock on it that his firelock had, his smoothbore. But on the inside of the barrel, it's got grooves that are cut all the way down back to the breech. And so when you fire a bullet from there, it'll put a spin on the bullet, and as it leaves the barrel, that spin stabilizes it, and it'll keep it going straight to where you aimed it. And it'll also have a much greater range. So whereas his would have a range out to maybe 80 yards to hit a person, you could shoot somebody at 200 or 300 yards with this. So you could reach out a lot farther, and so they might be utilized instead of close quarters when you've got the troops close to each other. This would be used in advance to take out the officers, the sergeants, things like that before the two armies really got close together. Loading it would be similar, but with a few differences. You still got the pan, so you put your powder charge in there. You get a measure of black powder, either from a cartridge or from a powder horn. Powder goes in, and then you'd have a round ball, a projectile, that would go up on the board. You'd push it in through the cloth, cut the cloth off, and the cloth has helped grab that rifling. And then once you've got it rammed all the way down to the breech, then you're ready to fire. But that takes about 1 to 2 minutes. So if you've got somebody coming at you, they've got 1 to 2 minutes between your shot to get close to you. So that's why this was not good for close quarters, and that's why the militia also were required to carry knives and to have tomahawks with them so that they could defend themselves at close quarters when the enemy approached.
Thank you. John, Russ? John Bell? That's it. As was explained earlier, the French had their design, which is a little smaller bore. The British had a very robust king's arm, which is commonly called the brown bess, 3/4 of an inch diameter bore. Basically, the French 16 balls to a pound of lead. The English 12 balls to the pound of lead. 12 gauge. That's where it came from, people. How many balls per pound of lead? All right. Take care. Shoulder your firelocks. To the right about, face. Front and load. Ready?